Anarchy is simply a state where there is no rule of law. Thank you very much. Perfect. There's no rule of law.
All beasts.
Everyone is doing anything.
Just roam.
Yeah.
As if Eden.
Yes. I mean, no one tells you that if you're driving on this road, you drive on the left. You can drive on the right or on the left.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Dance Drive. This is episode 8, and guys, we're just happy to have you back to the Dance Drive. It's been quite a minute, you know.
Yeah.
Now, diving right into it. Today's episode, we are looking at politics, we are looking at arts, we are looking at culture. I think you see how those two fuse. Politics, arts, culture.
Yeah, man.
It's a fusion of different elements. I mean, we're going to get into all that, but first allow me to introduce our guest on the Dance Drive today. He's a software engineer, you know, from Makerere University. Guys, allow me to first pull out the list. Just a minute.
It's long.
Hello, students. He's a secretary for Labour National Youth Council, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, man.
And then, of course, he's a party member, and he'll be able to enlighten us.
One more thing.
And also a big fan of the H2C.
I know, major key alerts, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't forget he's a Pan-Africanist.
Of course.
Ladies and gentlemen, we give you Kidega Moses. Now, jumping right into the discussion.
Yeah, man.
Let's start off with politics. Politics, I feel like it has been there in our day-to-day lives. Yeah. We have lived it, we have seen it. Even if someone felt like they shouldn't get involved into politics and they're in a country or a nation, somehow it influences them.
It affects
in
us.
their own fields. So that's why we are here today asking, what is the influence of politics on the arts and the culture? But first, Moses, to you, what is politics?
Thank you very much, my colleagues. First and foremost, I must say I'm happy to be here. And I'm also quite privileged that you guys considered hosting a fellow young person. This shows that you are in light, or you are cognizant of the fact that we need to grow as a generation. And if you're seeking political opinions, you seek them out from a fellow young person. To me, that is very progressive.
Who has got some experience.
Yes, exactly.
You cannot rule that out. You cannot rule it out.
Thank you. Yeah, so it's very important that we consider growing as a generation, irrespective of our different careers and different fields of life. Now, politics, to me, we can discuss it from the dictionary point of view, or from a layman point of understanding.
I think we can share both.
Both, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. And I would love to put politics and governance in the same bracket. To me, this is simply the art of collecting resources from the public, utilizing these resources in terms of appropriation, but also evaluating and ensuring that these resources are well accounted for. So, in general, that is what politicians do. They collect resources from the public, they invest it back into the same community, but also they must account to the same people whose money they collected through taxes. So, and you can see that the world generally rotates around politics. Because, like I said, it's about decision making. Even amongst H2C within your organization, there is politics that takes place, consciously or subconsciously. Because to reach a decision, for example, you either consult maybe David or Cedric or Dennis, you know, before you reach a decision. And that is all part of politics. That is consensus building. It's part of governance.
Consensus building.
Consensus building.
Guys, just an enlightenment. Yeah, consensus is like a democracy.
Yeah.
Agreeing to a decision.
Yes.
So just putting it out there.
Yes, thank you. And for example, before you reached on this decision to host Kidega here,
Yes.
I'm sure you had an internal conversation and
Uh-huh.
said, okay, Kidega might offer a good opinion on this particular subject.
Yes.
So you built consensus. You didn't have to go to maybe a vote, but there was some politics. Maybe at a point, for example, Dennis maybe wanted someone else, but maybe Cedric wanted Kidega. So maybe at a point, Cedric had to convince DVD that let us, support me in my argument to have Kidega to be hosted. Now that was politics, subconsciously. Yeah, I'm not saying it happened, but if
Yes.
that ever happens, then you're mobilizing yourselves internally towards reaching a decision
to govern.
and to ensure that your aspirations as an institution or as a team are achieved. The difference between my politics and yours is that the decisions that I take influence the general public. For example, I'm a leader in the National Youth Council of Uganda. National Youth Council, yes. National Youth Council, like you said, I'm the Labour Affairs Secretary
Yes.
to the National Youth Council.
Don't miss out on the details.
So the difference is that the decisions that I will take as a public servant, as a political leader, influence the general public.
Yes.
If I decided to misappropriate or misuse the money that's allocated to my docket in the National Youth Council, that decision affects the general public. But if tomorrow Dennis got money from the H2C account and maybe bought himself a pair of shoes or took his girlfriend out, yes, the decision might not be appropriate, but it doesn't affect the general public. It affects the institution of H2C.
Yeah.
Unlike me, where my decisions, if I decide to misuse money, will affect the general discourse. For example, members of parliament, they're allocated money to maybe ensure that roads are constructed. If they decide to misuse that money, we shall have poor roads, we shall have accidents, and you can
Poor
say
governance.
yes, poor governance eventually. So that is, I think, what I can say about politics. But politics is a good thing. It's a good thing because through politics we avoid anarchy.
Ah.
Can you break down for some people who don't understand?
Anarchy.
Please.
Anarchy is simply a state where there is no
Rule of law.
no rule of law. Thank you very much. Perfect. There is no rule of
You're
law.
all beasts.
Everyone is doing
You
anything.
just roam
Yeah.
as if Eden.
Yes. I mean,
Sodom and
no one
Gomorrah.
tells you that if you're driving on this road, you drive on the left. You can drive on the right or on the left. Anywhere, and you can crash and knock yourself. So
Very well
anarchy.
explained.
Yeah. This disorder and confusion. But when you have politics and governance, we avoid confusion. We avoid situations where there is disorder and anarchy. So politics is a good thing. It helps us organize society. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Moses, for
Yeah, man.
giving us an insight.
Well explained.
Well explained.
We are
Yes,
here to
guys.
stay.
Politics. Guys, politics. I think it's in our day-to-day lives, yeah. And it keeps on influencing us. However, as we all know, people can abuse it,
Yes.
or people can choose to
Use
eat
it
the
well.
fruits.
Yeah.
So it influences the environment negatively and positively.
That's
So
true.
I think we shall to dive into the other insight. I would love to ask you, do you think it has led to a greater extent or to a lower extent in the African aspect, Africa,
Yeah.
on the on arts
Yeah.
and culture?
Yeah.
Arts and culture, visual art, performance
Performance,
arts, crafts, people who do fashion, poetry,
Yeah.
all those different things, jewelry.
Yeah. First of
What do you
all,
think?
yeah, thank you. First of all, I think that the creative art generally has made a very significant contribution towards shaping society, towards shaping the direction through which communities develop and take.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example of entertainment. Yeah. I'll give you an example of Bob Marley. Bob Marley was assassinated 2 days before the Smile Jamaica concert. Okay? 2 days before his very big concert, he was assassinated. And the conspiracy around that was that Because if you recall, Bob Marley's music was basically about Jamaica, uprise, poor governance, let us organize Jamaica, these bad leaders that are misusing public resources, corruption.
He was using music as an instrument
to communicate. Exactly.
Okay.
So you can see that Bob Marley, in his own respect, in its own capacity, was shaping the politics of Jamaica. Lucky Dube in South Africa, Johannesburg. He was also assassinated.
Same political reason.
Exactly. Because they were using the music industry or creative art in general to communicate to people, to inspire
About
people to know about their rights,
human rights
and
freedom,
liberties, peace, democracy, and all those other values that really make up society.
Yeah.
So no one can ever despise the contribution of creative art. Look at us here, Bobby Wine. Through his music, he has managed to create a very strong network and a very strong communication basis, like you've said.
Yes.
Speaking about the issues that affect the ordinary person. And we can never downplay that contribution.
Yeah.
Look at, for example, even Tubonge, the song that these artists came together to do in 2016. Yeah, that same video had people who were dancing, and those dancers could have been H2C. Okay.
Yeah.
You could have been dancing in a way of communicating.
Guys, for example, that was an example.
That was an example. Another example. Yeah? I'm saying that tomorrow H2C could appear in a video that is politically oriented.
Yes.
For example, dancing and communicating.
And H2C in any way?
Of course, politics being politics. Of course, politics and democracy go hand in hand. The more democratic a country is the more liberal its people are. Okay? If we are in a country where our democracy has reached a very great level, there would be no issue with you, Cedric, for example, tomorrow, going out there to support Bobby Wine openly or to dance in Bobby Wine's video without having to worry
about
of H2C being closed the following day. Okay? But if you're in a country,
very good example,
and I'm not saying
if you're in a country that is liberal,
yeah.
For example,
Rwanda is Rwanda not exactly, but
Uganda is a liberal country.
Yeah, we are semi-liberal. I would say we are in between. Okay. Yeah, we are not exactly liberal, but we are tending towards liberal tendencies.
Yeah.
But then you asked me about the positive and negative implications. I think that politics is in both ways, because like I said, politicians appropriate resources. When we collect taxes, we say, okay, let's put 10 billion into the creative art industry. When politicians appropriate money to creative art, for example, H2C will have access to these soft loans. Okay, maybe H2C wants to expand their franchise. You have to now start maybe doing countrywide tours, or you want to generally you want to expand the franchise.
If there are people, different groups in the dance industry, and they all have a common goal,
yes,
they can be catered for
and supported. So if, for example, through political conversations, government appropriates money that the creative industry can have access to, money that isn't exactly highly taxed or with low interest rates, that means that H2C or any other creative industry or company won't have to go to maybe a Stanbic Bank or these commercial banks to get maybe loans, because those loans come with very high interest rates. So if government appropriates money and says we are putting money aside for the creative industry, let our young people who are devoting their time to entertain and do creative art have these soft loans that they can access and pay with very limited or very small interest. Now that is politics positively influencing the creative industry. But also there are negative implications. That if politics, like you said, if it is mismanaged, it can affect the creative industry itself. Like we saw, for example, in this lockdown where government came up with all these regulations against concerts. Is it before you go for a concert, you must notify and all those things. Now those are unnecessary, really stringent laws that, to me, stringent, yes, they are rigid, if I'm to say. Why should someone have to first come and notify the police before they have a concert? okay, yes, there was that whole, COVID-19 pandemic and limiting gatherings, but I mean,
Still.
yes, still,
Humanity.
if people are to have their liberty, let it be full liberty.
Ubuntu.
Okay? Yes, Ubuntu. I am because we are.
I am because we are.
Because we are. So we have seen how politics can at times negatively affect the creative industry. I've given you that example one. Two, we have seen situations where, for example, okay, let me go back to the positive.
Yeah.
We are seeing government trying to incorporate or trying to implement the intellectual property on music and creative art.
Yeah.
Okay, that as H2C you can have intellectual property on your choreography that you come up with. Okay, now those can be positive laws that can enable you realize even more profits from what you're doing. Okay,
Yeah.
so and I've seen, I think Waiki Benda is the brand ambassador to encourage this whole IP campaign and things like that. Now those are positive laws that are politically generated through parliament and through laws among things like that. So we can see the positive sides of good politics, but also there's the negative side of bad politics, which I've tried to explain to you using the example of the stringent and rigid laws, which are not necessary at all, but deter the progress of any given industry.
Yes.
So I think as leaders, as politicians, we must liberalize our thinking.
Yeah.
And I think President Kagame has done well in terms of liberalizing his creative sector and his creative industry, because you will see that Rwanda has capacity to invest public resources in Arsenal.
Yeah.
Okay.
PSG.
Visit Rwanda.
Guys,
Yes.
Arsenal's jersey.
Arsenal's jersey. Actually, me and you are big Arsenal fans,
Lugu.
Yeah,
Lugu.
of course, we are struggling in the league, but I mean that is.
We had the best manager of the month,
Yeah.
September.
Oh, yeah, by the way,
Mikel Arteta.
Mikel Arteta.
We didn't lose our game against
Against
Crystal Palace. Shockingly.
We shall discuss Arsenal another day, but today it is politics and the creative industry. So we have seen how liberal, how liberal leaders like Paul Kagame are investing public resources in things that I would put as maybe the creative industry, but things that people could maybe undermine.
Yeah.
But through the creative industry, through sport, he's marketing Rwanda.
Yeah.
And everyone is getting to know about Rwanda.
About Rwanda.
Yeah. So tomorrow, if our government said, no, these H2C guys are doing very great work. Yeah. Why can't they become brand ambassadors of tourism of Uganda? Yeah. You go dance, but okay, can you maybe localize your choreography to maybe local tunes? Yeah, using drums.
Yeah. The Afro elements.
Yes, the Afro element.
African elements.
Yes.
Sell out the Pearl of Africa.
Sell out the Pearl of
To
Africa.
the world.
Yes. Now, those are constructive conversations that government can have with you.
Very constructive.
Yeah.
With our management.
Yes, constructive and progressive here management is Samson Muyingo among the management.
Big shout out to Ewan
Samson
Samo.
Muyingo.
We love you. Big love.
But Samo looks like Peter Bayeka. Do you know that?
Yeah, a lot.
From the haircuts to everything.
The personality.
The personality to the way he moves and
Guys,
So man, yeah.
look out for the picture of the Uganda Music Awards 2017.
Yeah,
There was
man.
a gentleman on our side.
in a slide cabin.